Zaraleth stared at her communication tablet and sighed. The blue glow of the screen reflected off her iridescent scales as she read through her options again. There were none. 0 responses to her advertisement for a roommate, and she had posted it 3 days ago. She needed someone to share her apartment soon or she would have to move out. The young draconian tapped her clawed finger against the table nervously. She had only 2 weeks before the new semester began at Galactic Union University, and campus housing was completely full. Her previous roommate, another draconian named Vex Aura, had suddenly transferred to the university's other campus in the Centauri system without much warning. Now Zaraleth was stuck with a 2-bedroom apartment and not enough credits to pay for it alone. "This is hopeless," she muttered to herself, her second set of arms crossing over her chest while her primary hand still held the tablet. The rent in New Seattle Spaceport was ridiculously high, especially in the university district. She had been lucky to find this place when she first arrived from Dracos Prime last year. She scrolled through her advertisement again. Draconian graduate, student seeking compatible roommate for 2-bedroom apartment near GUU campus. Spacious living area with temperature controls, separate food storage units, and sonic cleaning chamber. Must be comfortable with moderate heat, 85 to 90 degrees Celsius preferred, and low humidity. Seeking species with similar atmospheric requirements, diurnal, sleep patterns, and non-toxic biological emissions. No methane breathers, please. 450 credits per month, available immediately. Maybe her requirements were too specific, but she couldn't live with just anyone. Some species emitted gases that were harmful to draconians, and others required living conditions that would make her sick. She had added a detailed questionnaire to her listing that would help screen out incompatible species. Her communication tablet pinged suddenly. Zaraleth's heart raced as she quickly opened the notification. A new application! Someone had responded to her advertisement and completed her questionnaire. Her excitement faded quickly as she read the name, Alex Carter. She had never heard of that species before. Carter? Was that a subspecies designation? She clicked on the profile and gasped when she saw the image. It was a human. Her frills flared in surprise. "No way," she said out loud to her empty apartment. "This cannot be happening." Humans were the newest members of the Galactic Union. Their planet, Earth, had only established first contact 7 years ago, and they were still considered probationary members. Zaraleth had never met one in person, but she knew the stories. They were unpredictable persistence predators with bizarre biological functions and primitive technology. Some even said they could eat almost anything and survive extreme temperature variations that would kill most sentient species. She had never expected a human to apply to be her roommate. They weren't even on her list of compatible species. Zaraleth forced herself to read through the application. Alex Carter was apparently accepted into the Xenolinguistics graduate program, the first human to ever attend Galactic Union University. The application mentioned that there had been a mix-up with housing arrangements, and now Alex needed a place to stay immediately. The responses to her compatibility questionnaire were surprising. The human claimed to be adaptable to various temperature ranges, had a diurnal sleep cycle similar to draconians, and promised to be respectful of different cultural needs. Alex had even written a short note. "I understand I may not be what you're looking for, but I'm a quiet student focused on my studies. I've researched draconian culture and believe we could be compatible roommates. I'm willing to make adjustments for comfortable cohabitation. Would appreciate a chance to meet. Thank you for your consideration." At least the human seemed polite. Zaraleth put down her tablet and walked to the window. The lights of New Seattle Spaceport glittered below her, spacecraft coming and going from the busy port. Thousands of species coexisted in this city, one of the most diverse places in the galaxy. Maybe living with a human wouldn't be so terrible. She checked her bank account again. Her stipend from the university would arrive next week, but it wouldn't be enough to cover the full rent. And there were no other applications. Just an interview, she decided finally. I will meet this human, and then decide. She sent a response to Alex, suggesting they meet tomorrow at the campus coffee shop. It was a public place where she would feel safe, and they could discuss the potential living arrangement. The next day, Zaraleth arrived early at Stellar Brews, the popular cafe just outside the university's main entrance. She chose a table near the back, where her 7-foot height and distinctive scaled appearance wouldn't draw too much attention. Though there were plenty of non-human species at GU, draconians were still rare enough to attract stares. She ordered a heat-infused berry tea and waited nervously, her tail curled tightly around the chair leg, a sign of anxiety she was trying to control. How would she recognize the human? She had only seen the small profile picture. Her question was answered moments later when someone approached her table hesitantly. "Excuse me, are you Zaraleth?" asked a voice. She looked up to see a creature much smaller than she expected. The human had none of the exaggerated muscles shown in media depictions. Alex Carter was of average height for a human, with short brown hair and friendly eyes. The human wore the standard GUU graduate student uniform with a blue xenolinguistics department patch. "Yes, I am Zaraleth," she replied formally, rising slightly and extending her upper right arm in the traditional draconian greeting position. "You must be Alex Carter of Earth." To her surprise, the human correctly responded with the appropriate gesture, pressing a closed fist against an open palm before offering a handshake. "Thank you for meeting with me," Alex said, sliding into the seat across from her. "I know I'm probably not what you were expecting." "No," Zaraleth admitted, her translator working to convert her harmonic speech patterns into standard galactic. "I did not expect a human to apply." "I understand if it's an immediate no," Alex said, "but I wanted to at least try. The housing situation is pretty desperate and your apartment is perfect, close to campus and affordable." Zaraleth studied the human carefully. This was not what she had imagined. Alex seemed normal, civilized. There was no sign of the dangerous predator she had been warned about. "Tell me, why did you choose GUU for your studies?" she asked, curious despite herself. Alex's face brightened. "I've been fascinated by languages my entire life. When Earth joined the Galactic Union, I knew I wanted to study xenolinguistics. GUU has the best program in the quadrant. I want to improve translation systems between humans and other species." As they continued talking, Zaraleth found herself growing less uncomfortable. The human was knowledgeable, respectful, and seemed genuinely interested in making the arrangement work. "I have to ask," she said finally. "How would you handle the temperature? My species requires warmth." "I've lived in hot climates before," Alex explained, "and I brought climate-adaptive clothing. Maybe we could compromise at 75 degrees? That should be comfortable for both of us." By the end of their meeting, Zaraleth was facing a decision she never thought she would make. With no other options and time running out, she found herself actually considering this human as her new roommate. "1-month trial period," she said finally. "We will need a detailed living agreement." Alex smiled, clearly relieved. "That sounds fair. Thank you for giving me a chance." As they left the cafe together to discuss details, Zaraleth noticed other aliens watching with curiosity and surprise. A draconian and a human, planning to live together? It was unheard of. She wondered if she was making a terrible mistake. Moving day arrived quickly. Zaraleth paced nervously around the apartment, checking everything one last time. She had cleared out half the storage units in the kitchen for Alex's food, adjusted the temperature to the agreed-upon 75 degrees, and set up the spare bedroom with standard furniture. She still wasn't sure if this arrangement would work, but she was willing to try. The door chimed at exactly the time they had agreed upon. At least the human was punctual, she thought as she pressed the panel to slide the door open. Alex stood there with 2 large bags and a friendly smile. "Hello, roommate." "Hello," Zaraleth replied, stepping back to allow Alex to enter. "Do you need assistance with your belongings?" "That would be great, thanks." Alex handed her one of the lighter bags. As they carried Alex's belongings into the apartment, several neighbors peeked out from their doors to watch. Zaraleth noticed an Andorian couple whispering to each other, their antennae twitching with excitement. News of her unusual living arrangement had clearly spread through the building. "This is the main living area," Zaraleth explained, gesturing. with her lower right arm. The kitchen unit is there, and I have cleared space for your food items. Your bedroom is the second door on the right. Alex looked around with obvious interest. This is a nice place. Thanks again for giving me a chance. Zaraleth nodded, still feeling awkward. We should review the living agreement before you unpack. They sat at the small table in the living area, and Zaraleth brought up the document on her tablet. She had spent hours researching human needs and habits to create a comprehensive agreement that would prevent conflicts. I've organized our shared spaces and schedule based on our discussion, she explained. The bathroom usage times are listed here. I require a 30-minute scale-soaking ritual every 7th day. The rest of the time we can alternate as needed. Alex nodded, carefully reading each section. This is very detailed. I appreciate how much thought you put into this. Proper planning prevents problems, Zaraleth said, quoting a common draconian saying. I have also included emergency protocols. If either of us becomes ill, these are the proper medical contacts for our species. As they continued reviewing the document, Zaraleth found herself relaxing slightly. The humans seemed reasonable and respectful of her needs. Maybe this would work after all. One question, Alex said, pointing to a section of the agreement. It says here that quiet hours are during the day. Don't you sleep at night? No, Zaraleth explained. Draconians require a full night's sleep only once every 3 days. On other nights, we take short rest periods. We are most active during evening hours. Alex looked surprised. I didn't know that. I'll try to be quiet when I get up in the morning then. And I will be considerate when you are sleeping, Zaraleth promised. That is why we have the agreement. With the formalities completed, Alex began unpacking. Zaraleth watched with curiosity as the human organized various items in the bedroom. There were several books, actual physical books, not digital ones, and clothing made from plant and animal fibers. It was all very primitive compared to draconian standards, but also somehow interesting. What is that device? She asked, pointing to a small box Alex had placed on the bedside table. It's a white noise machine, Alex explained. It helps me sleep by creating background sounds. Would you like to hear it? Alex pressed a button and soft sounds filled the room. Water flowing, like a river or stream. Zaraleth's frills twitched at the pleasant sound. That is nice, she admitted. We have similar devices on Draco's Prime, though ours usually produce the sound of volcanic vents. Alex smiled. See? Some things are universal. Their first meal together that evening was another learning experience. Zaraleth watched with fascination as Alex prepared a simple human meal called pasta using the cooking unit. Would you like to try some? Alex offered, holding out a small portion. Zaraleth hesitated. Is it safe for my species? I checked the xenobiology database at the university, Alex said. All the ingredients are compatible with draconian digestion. No toxins. Carefully, Zaraleth took the offered food and tasted it with her forked tongue. The flavors were strange, but not unpleasant. It is different, she said diplomatically. Alex laughed. That's okay. I probably wouldn't like draconian food either. Actually, Zaraleth said, our traditional meal hakrath is considered a delicacy among many species. I could prepare it sometime if you are interested. I'd like that, Alex replied with genuine enthusiasm. As they ate their separate meals, they talked about their studies and backgrounds. Alex explained the concept of linguistics on Earth, while Zaraleth described her research in quantum biochemistry. Despite their different fields, they found common ground in the challenges of academic life. Later that evening, they encountered their first real challenge when Alex needed to shower. The apartment's cleaning chamber was designed for various species, but Zaraleth had never considered some of the unique aspects of human hygiene. You use actual water? She asked, horrified when Alex explained the process. Every day? Yes, Alex confirmed. Is that a problem? Water is precious on my homeworld, Zaraleth explained. We use sonic cleaning techniques. I did not realize humans required so much water. The building recycles all water, Alex pointed out, and I can take short showers to conserve. Zaraleth nodded, adding yet another unexpected difference to her mental list. Living with this human was going to be more complicated than she had anticipated. That night, as Zaraleth worked on her research in the living area, she could hear the sound of Alex breathing in the other room. The steady rhythm was strangely comforting in its own way. She had been alone in the apartment since Vexora left, and the presence of another living being, even a human, made the space feel less empty. The next morning, Zaraleth woke to an unusual smell. She followed it to the kitchen area where Alex was making something called coffee. "Sorry if I woke you," Alex said. "I'm heading to campus for orientation. Would you like to try some coffee? It's a human beverage." Zaraleth sniffed the dark liquid cautiously. "What does it do?" "It contains caffeine, which helps humans feel more alert," Alex explained, "though I'm not sure how it would affect your species." "I will pass," Zaraleth decided, "but thank you for the offer." As Alex prepared to leave for the day, Zaraleth found herself offering advice about the campus and which transport tubes were fastest. It felt strange to be helpful to a human, but also somehow natural. "I will be in Laboratory Section 7 today if you need anything," she said, as Alex was leaving. "Thanks," Alex replied with a smile. "I'll message you if I get lost." When the door closed behind Alex, Zaraleth realized she had just completed her first night of cohabitation with a human. It had been not terrible. Different, yes, challenging in ways she hadn't expected. But the human was trying, and so was she. Maybe, just maybe, this arrangement would work after all. She opened her communication tablet to find several messages, from friends and classmates, all asking variations of the same question. "Is it true you're living with a human?" Zaraleth sighed. This was going to be an interesting semester indeed. 2 weeks passed, and life with a human roommate had settled into an unexpected rhythm. Zaraleth found herself adjusting to Alex's habits, just as Alex was adapting to hers. They crossed paths in the morning when Alex left for classes, and in the evening when Zaraleth returned from her late laboratory sessions. During these brief encounters, they exchanged small bits of information about their days, or asked simple questions about each other's cultures. "Why do humans need to sleep every single day?" Zaraleth asked one evening as they both worked at the table in the living area. She had been wondering about this ever since noticing Alex's consistent sleep pattern. Alex looked up from a language study assignment. "Our bodies and brains need regular rest to function properly. We can skip a night occasionally, but it's not good for us. Do draconians really only need sleep every 3 days?" Zaraleth nodded, her scales shimmering slightly under the apartment. "Lights. Yes. We enter a deep restoration cycle that lasts 12 hours. Between those times, we take short rest periods but remain partially alert. That explains why I sometimes hear you moving around at night," Alex said. "I thought I was disturbing your sleep." "No," Zaraleth assured her. "Your sleep noises are actually quite minimal for a mammal." Alex laughed at this. "Thanks, I think." They returned to their work. Zaraleth reflected on how their conversations had become easier over time. The initial awkwardness had faded, replaced by genuine curiosity. She would never have expected to find a human's habits interesting rather than just strange. The next morning, Zaraleth emerged from her room to find Alex bent over the sink, making odd noises. Concerned, she approached cautiously. "Are you unwell?" she asked. Alex turned, face dripping with water. "Just a small cold. Nothing serious." But by that evening, the human's condition had clearly worsened. Alex returned from classes looking pale, with a reddened nose and watery eyes. Strange sneezing sounds came from the human's room throughout the night. Zaraleth had never seen a sick human before. The next morning, she found Alex in the kitchen area, attempting to make tea with shaking hands. "You should return to your sleeping platform," Zaraleth said firmly. "You appear severely ill." "It's just a cold," Alex insisted weakly. "Happens all the time to humans. I'll be fine in a few days." "A few days?" Zaraleth's frills lifted in surprise. This is a common occurrence that lasts for days? Alex nodded, then winced at the movement. Common human thing. Our immune systems fight off viruses, but the symptoms can be unpleasant. Zaraleth watched as Alex shuffled back to the bedroom, clearly miserable. She felt strangely concerned. The human had become more than just a roommate, perhaps something like a colleague, or even a friend. She could not simply ignore Alex's suffering. After her morning classes, Zaraleth stopped at the University Medical Center. The xenobiology section contained information on various species, including humans. She downloaded care instructions for common human illnesses and a list of safe remedies. She then visited the International Food Market near campus, where she found several items from Earth. One recommended remedy caught her attention: chicken soup. The concept seemed strange, consuming animal protein in liquid form as medicine, but the database insisted it was effective for human colds. Back at the apartment, Zaraleth carefully followed the instructions to prepare the soup. She had never cooked Earth food before, and the process was completely different from draconian food preparation. The smell was unusual, but not unpleasant. When Alex emerged from the bedroom looking worse than before, Zaraleth had the soup ready, in a bowl. "You made chicken soup?" Alex asked in surprise, voice raspy. "The medical database suggested it as an appropriate remedy for human respiratory infections," Zaraleth explained. "I located the necessary ingredients at the international market." Alex sat at the table looking at the soup with obvious emotion. "Thank you. This is really kind of you." "It is practical," Zaraleth said, feeling suddenly self-conscious. "If you remain ill, it might affect your portion of the rent payment." This made Alex smile despite feeling sick. "Of course, very practical." Zaraleth watched as Alex ate the soup, relieved that her first attempt at human cooking seemed acceptable. She had also acquired tissues for the strange fluid that leaked from human noses during illness and a medication called cold relief tablets that the market vendor assured her was safe for humans. "This really helps," Alex said after finishing most of the soup. "How did you know what to get?" "I researched human illnesses," Zaraleth admitted. "Your species has many unusual biological responses." Alex laughed, then coughed. "We're pretty weird, I know." For the next 2 days, Zaraleth found herself checking on Alex regularly between classes and lab work. She made more soup, ensured the human was consuming adequate fluids, and even adjusted the apartment temperature to be slightly warmer after reading that heat could help human recovery. On the 3rd day, Alex was well enough to return to classes. Zaraleth felt oddly relieved to see color returning to the human's face. "I can't thank you enough for taking care of me," Alex said before leaving. "Most humans wouldn't have done that much for a sick roommate." "Most draconians would not either," Zaraleth admitted. "But I have found that living with different species requires adaptability." Alex smiled. "Is that your way of saying we're friends now?" Zaraleth's scales flickered slightly, the draconian equivalent of a blush. "Perhaps, in a cross-species context." "I'll take it," Alex said with a grin. The following week brought another challenge when Zaraleth's biochemistry study group needed a meeting place. Normally they gathered in the science building, but it was closed for maintenance. Reluctantly, she invited them to the apartment. "Will your human roommate be there?" asked Krell, an Andorian classmate who had been particularly curious about her living situation. "Possibly," Zaraleth replied. "Is that a problem?" "No," Krell said quickly. "We are all simply interested." That evening, 5 alien students from different species gathered in Zaraleth's living area. They were setting up their study materials when Alex arrived home from a late class. "Oh, sorry," Alex said, stopping in the doorway. "I didn't know. You were having friends over." "This is my biochemistry study group," Zaraleth explained. "Our usual location was unavailable." She introduced each member: Krell the Andorian, Nyx the Vulvan, Tora the Centaurian, and Brel the Keplerian. Each one stared at Alex with undisguised curiosity. "Nice to meet you all," Alex said politely. "I'll stay out of your way." "Actually," Zaraleth found herself saying. Perhaps you could join us. We are discussing cellular adaptation to different environmental conditions. The human perspective might be valuable. Her classmates looked surprised at the invitation, but none objected. Alex hesitated, then nodded. I'd be honored. Let me just put my things away. When Alex returned, the group made space at the table. Initially, the conversation was stilted, with everyone too polite and careful. But when the discussion turned to temperature adaptation, Alex offered information about how humans survived in various Earth climates. Your species lives in both frozen regions and areas with extreme heat? Tora asked, clearly fascinated. Without technological assistance, we need help in the most extreme conditions, Alex explained. But humans have spread to nearly every climate zone on Earth. We adapt culturally when we can't adapt biologically. The study session lasted longer than planned, evolving into a wider discussion about different species adaptations. By the end, even Krell, who had seemed most skeptical of humans, was engaged in animated conversation with Alex. After everyone left, Zaraleth began cleaning up the living area. Your friends were nice, Alex commented, helping to put furniture back in place. They are classmates, Zaraleth corrected automatically, then paused. But yes, they are also friends. And now they've all met a real live human, Alex said with a smile. Did I pass inspection? Zaraleth's frills fluttered in amusement. I believe you made a positive impression. Krell asked if you would join us, again. I'd like that, Alex said. It's nice to feel included. As they finished tidying the apartment, Zaraleth realized something had changed. The apartment no longer felt like her space that Alex was sharing. It felt like their space, a place where a draconian and a human were building something new together, something neither of their species had tried before. It was strange, unexpected, and somehow better than she could have imagined. 1 month turned into 2, and the trial period of their roommate arrangement had long passed without either of them mentioning it. Living together had become comfortable, almost routine. Zaraleth and Alex moved around each other with the ease of people who had learned each other's habits and respected each other's space. Then one evening, as Zaraleth was reviewing data from her latest experiment, her communication tablet chimed with an incoming call. When she saw the caller identification, her scales instantly paled to a light blue color. No, she muttered, staring at the screen. It was her family calling from Dracos Prime. Alex looked up from across the room. Everything okay? It is my family, Zaraleth said, her voice tight. They never call without scheduling first. She accepted the call, and the screen filled with the image of her father's stern face, his dark green scales gleaming in the volcanic light of their home. Daughter, he said formally in their native language. We bring important news. Zaraleth responded with the proper greeting, trying to keep her voice steady. Behind her father, she could see her mother and younger sibling, Krell. We will be arriving at New Seattle Spaceport in 3 days, her father announced. The Draconian Science Council has appointed me to review the research facilities at your university. We will stay with you during our visit. Zaraleth struggled to keep her frills from flattening against her head in distress. I am honored, Father. How long will your visit last? 5 days, he replied. Prepare accordingly. The call ended, abruptly, leaving Zaraleth staring at the blank screen. She was aware of Alex watching her with concern. Bad news? Alex asked. Zaraleth set down the tablet carefully. My family is coming to visit. In 3 days. They will stay here in our apartment. Alex's eyes widened. Oh, and they don't know about me, do they? No, Zaraleth admitted. My family is traditional. My father opposed Earth joining the Galactic Union. He believes humans are too unpredictable and potentially dangerous to other species. I see, Alex said quietly. So what do we do? Zaraleth paced the room, all 4 arms moving in agitation. I must prepare the apartment. They cannot know I have a human roommate. It would shame our family name. She stopped pacing and looked at Alex directly. I am sorry, but I must ask you to leave temporarily, just for the 5 days they are here. Though she could see hurt in Alex's eyes, the human nodded. I understand. Family can be complicated. I can probably stay with Professor Williams from the linguistics department. She offered me a place when I first arrived. Relief washed over Zaraleth. Thank you for understanding. I will compensate you for the inconvenience. Don't worry about it, Alex said with a small smile. Though I think someday you should tell them. We can't be the only human draconian roommates in the galaxy. The next 3 days were a flurry of preparation. Zaraleth cleaned the apartment thoroughly, removing all traces of human presence. Alex packed essential belongings and moved to Professor Williams' guest room. By the time Zaraleth's family was due to arrive, the apartment looked as if only a draconian lived there. She met her family at the spaceport, performing all the proper greeting rituals. Her father, Kelzoth, was an imposing figure even among draconians, with his dark green scales and prominent frills denoting his high status. Her mother, Laravex, was more subtly colored but no less intimidating. Only her younger sibling, Krelzar, seemed truly pleased to see her. Sister, your scales look different, Krelzar noted as they rode the transport tube to her apartment. Less vibrant. Are you ill? No, simply tired from my studies, Zaraleth lied, knowing the real reason was stress about the current situation. The first 2 days of the visit went smoothly. Her father spent most of his time at the university, while her mother asked polite questions about Zaraleth's studies and living arrangements. Krelzar was fascinated by everything on Earth and wanted to explore the city. On the 3rd day, disaster struck. Zaraleth had taken her family to dinner at a draconian restaurant in the diplomatic district. When they returned to the apartment, her father noticed something on the small shelf near the entry. What is this? He asked, picking up a small book. Zaraleth felt her blood run cold. It was one of Alex's books, a collection of Earth poetry that must have been overlooked during their hasty cleanup. That belongs to a classmate, she said quickly. I borrowed it for a xenosociology elective I am taking. Her father opened the book, examining the strange symbols. You are studying human writing systems? Seeing no way out, Zaraleth nodded. Yes, father. I find their communication methods interesting from a scientific perspective. To her surprise, her father looked impressed rather than angry. An excellent approach. Understanding potential rivals is strategically sound. The Science Council would approve of such initiative. Perhaps you could introduce us to a human during our visit, her mother suggested, for cultural education purposes. Zaraleth nearly choked. I do not know many humans personally, but you must know some if you are studying their language, her father pressed. It would be valuable to observe one directly. Trapped by her own lie, Zaraleth fumbled for a response. I will see if any are available to meet. Later that night, after her family had retired to their sleeping areas, Zaraleth sent an urgent message to Alex. My family found your book. Now they want to meet a human. What should I do? Alex's response came quickly. Tell them the truth, or introduce me as a random human student. Either way, I'm here to help. Zaraleth spent a restless night weighing her options. By morning, she had made her decision. After her father left for the university, she sat down with her mother and sibling. I need to tell you something, she began nervously. The book father found belongs to my roommate. You have a roommate? Her mother asked, surprised. You told us you lived alone. I was not truthful, Zaraleth admitted, her scales shifting to a pale blue color of shame. My roommate is a human named Alex. Krelzar's eyes widened with excitement while her mother's frills flattened in shock. You have been living with a human? Her mother asked, voice tight with disapproval. Without informing us? Yes, Zaraleth said firmly. Alex is a graduate student in xenolinguistics. We have shared this apartment for nearly 3 months now. This is unacceptable, her mother declared. What would the clan think? You must find other arrangements immediately. No, Zaraleth said, surprising herself with her boldness. Alex is a good roommate and has become a friend. I will not ask him to leave permanently. Him? Krelzar asked. Your roommate is a male, human. Zaraleth nodded. The situation kept getting worse. Where is this human now? Her mother demanded. Staying with a professor during your visit, Zaraleth explained. I was afraid of your reaction, so I asked Alex to leave temporarily. Her mother's frills quivered with agitation. Your father must be told immediately. Before Zaraleth could respond, the apartment door opened, and her father entered. He had returned early from the university. Told what? He asked, looking from his mate to his daughter. Our daughter has been living with a human male, her mother announced. She concealed this from us. Kelzoth's scales darkened to a dangerous shade of purple. Explain yourself, daughter. Zaraleth stood tall, all four arms positioned in a stance of respectful determination. I needed a roommate to afford this apartment. Alex needed housing. We have found that our species can coexist peacefully. He has been respectful of our customs and has even participated in my study group. This is unacceptable, her father declared. You will terminate this living arrangement immediately. No, father, Zaraleth said firmly. I have made my decision. I ask you to meet Alex before you judge our arrangement. A tense silence filled the room. Finally, her father spoke, his voice cold. Very well. I will meet this human, but do not expect me to approve. Zaraleth sent a message to Alex, who agreed to come to the apartment that evening. As she waited for his arrival, Zaraleth wondered if she had made a terrible mistake. Would this meeting destroy her relationship with her family? Would they force her to return to Dracos Prime? It was too late to turn back now. All she could do was hope that her family would see what she had come to see. That humans, or at least one human, could be trusted and valued. The apartment felt too small as they waited for Alex to arrive. Zaraleth's family sat stiffly in the living area, her father's scales still dark with disapproval. Her mother kept her frills flat against her head, a sign of severe displeasure, while Krelzar couldn't hide their excitement despite the tense atmosphere. When the door chimed, Zaraleth jumped to her feet. I will answer it. She opened the door to find Alex standing there, dressed in formal attire that resembled the traditional academic clothing of Galactic Union scholars. It was a thoughtful choice that showed respect for the occasion. Thank you for coming, she said quietly. Alex nodded. Of course. Ready when you are. Taking a deep breath, Zaraleth led Alex into the living area where her family waited. All three Draconians rose to their full height, towering over the human. Honored family, Zaraleth said formally in galactic standard so Alex could understand. This is Alex Carter, xenolinguistics graduate student and my roommate. Alex, this is my father, Kelzoth, my mother, Laravex, and my sibling, Krelzar. 2. Everyone's surprise, Alex performed a perfect draconian greeting gesture, complete with the proper arm positions and respectful head tilt. I am honored to meet the family of Zaraleth, Alex said, pronouncing the draconian name with near-perfect intonation. Your daughter has been an excellent roommate and has taught me much about your respected culture. Kelzoth's frills twitched, slightly, a sign of surprise. He responded with a formal but minimal greeting. You speak our language? Only a few phrases, Alex admitted. My specialty is phonetic structures and cultural communication patterns. I have been studying Draconian language as part of my research. Why did you choose to live with our daughter? Laravex asked directly. I needed housing, and the university had made an error with my arrangements, Alex explained. Zaraleth's advertisement was for a compatible roommate. I knew it was unusual for a human to apply, but the location was ideal for my studies. And why did you accept him? Kelzoth asked Zaraleth sharply. Before she could answer, Alex spoke. If I may, sir, Zaraleth was very thorough in her screening process. She created a detailed living agreement that respected both our needs. She has been extremely patient with my many questions about Draconian culture. Zaraleth was grateful for Alex's intervention. It was initially a practical decision, Father, but it has proven to be educational as well. Educational? Her father, repeated skeptically. Yes, she replied more confidently. Living with someone from another species provides insights that cannot be gained from textbooks. For example, I have learned that humans are far more adaptable than our cultural briefing suggested. Krelzar could no longer contain their curiosity. Is it true humans sleep horizontally every single day? Alex smiled. Yes, we do. And we dream, too. Our brains process information while we sleep. Fascinating, Krelzar said, leaning forward. And you eat plants and animals? Krelzar, their mother warned. This is not a xenobiology interview. Actually, Kelzoth said unexpectedly, I am curious about these things as well. He turned to Alex. Human, what is your assessment of Earth's integration into the Galactic Union? It was a loaded question. Zaraleth knew her father had opposed Earth's membership, arguing that humans were too unpredictable and potentially aggressive. Alex considered the question carefully. We have much to learn, sir. Humans have spent most of our history isolated, thinking we were alone in the universe. Our sudden introduction to so many advanced civilizations has been challenging. But I believe our unique perspectives can contribute to the Galactic Union, just as we have much to gain from other species. What unique perspectives could humans possibly offer? Laravex asked skeptically. Adaptability, Alex replied without hesitation. Humans evolved to thrive in vastly different environments on our planet. That same adaptability helps us embrace new ideas and technologies. He paused, then added, and we're good at finding unconventional solutions to problems. The conversation continued through the evening. To Zaraleth's relief, her family's questions became less hostile over time. Krelzar was clearly fascinated by Alex, while her mother seemed surprised by his knowledge of draconian customs. Even her father's scales had lightened to a more neutral color. When Alex prepared to leave, Kelzoth spoke directly to him. You have conducted yourself with unexpected dignity, human. While I remain concerned about this arrangement, I acknowledge that you have shown respect for our ways. It wasn't approval, but it wasn't outright rejection either. Zaraleth felt hope rising within her. After Alex left, her family had a private discussion in their native language. The human is more civilized than I expected, her father admitted reluctantly, though I still have concerns about the wisdom of this arrangement. Alex has been an excellent roommate, father, Zaraleth insisted. Our living agreement has prevented any major conflicts, and we have both learned from the experience. Learning about other species is valuable, Krelzar added eagerly. I want to study humans when I attend university next year. Their mother looked alarmed at this but said nothing. I will not force you to end this arrangement, her father finally declared. But I expect regular reports on your living situation, and you will inform us immediately if any problems arise. Relief washed over Zaraleth. It wasn't complete acceptance, but it was enough for now. The remainder of her family's visit passed more smoothly. Though Alex continued to stay with Professor Williams, he joined them for one more evening meal before they departed. By then, even her mother had begun to ask more curious than hostile questions. After her family left, Zaraleth helped Alex move his belongings back into the apartment. Thank you, she said as they finished arranging his books on the shelf. You handled my family exceptionally well. Alex smiled. They care about you. I understand that. They have very traditional views, Zaraleth explained. Change comes slowly. To draconians. It comes slowly to humans too sometimes, Alex replied. But it does come. A week later, Zaraleth received a message from the university housing office. The message asked if she and Alex would be willing to speak to other students about their experience as cross-species roommates. The university was considering a new initiative to promote cultural exchange through shared housing. What do you think? She asked Alex, showing him the message. Should we do this? Alex considered it. It might help other students who are considering similar arrangements. We could share what worked for us. Our detailed living agreement, Zaraleth said, with a flicker of her frills, the draconian equivalent of a smile. And our willingness to adapt, Alex added. That's the real key. They agreed to participate in the program. A few days later, they found themselves addressing a small group of students from various species who were interested in cross-cultural housing options. As Zaraleth looked at the curious faces before them, some with scales, some with fur, some with tentacles or antennae, she thought about how much had changed since she posted that desperate advertisement for a roommate. She had never expected a human to apply. She certainly never expected that human to become her friend. And she definitely never expected to be standing here recommending the experience to others. The most important thing we learned, she told the group, is that differences between species can become strengths rather than obstacles, if you approach them with respect and clear communication. Alex nodded in agreement. And sometimes the most unexpected roommate turns out to be the best one. As the students asked questions, Zaraleth realized that her small decision to give Alex a chance had become something much bigger. They weren't just roommates sharing an apartment anymore. They were pioneers in their own small way, showing that humans and aliens could not just coexist but thrive together. It was not what she had planned. But as she had learned from living with a human, the unexpected could sometimes be better than anything you could have imagined.